I like the drum roll, please.
Mate, 100%. Welcome back to Road Less Traveled, a podcast by Applewood Distillery where we interview people who are pushing the boundaries in their given field. And today we are joined by someone on the other side of the planet in Paris, France. He is probably one of the most exciting bartenders in the world at the moment. I would say that personally. He is the winner of Patron Perfectionists Global in 2022. He was one of the OGs at Cantina OK, top 100 bar in the world. He was the part of the opening team and the bars manager of Bar Planet, which is on the top 5 list of places to get a martini in Australia, if not the world. And now he has spread his giant Icarus-like wings and moved all the way to Paris and is working with Remy Savage at Bar Nouveau, which I had the very lucky experience at the end of last year to watch this man craft drinks in front of me in the middle of Paris. It is the effervescent Harrison Kenny. Man, how you doing?
Oh my God, just wrap it up after that. That's it. We're out of here.
Man,
that's perfect.
It was basically
leave it at that.
The Oscar music. Yeah, the Oscar music should have played me off halfway through that, like 100%, dude.
That's it. Man, like I don't want to ruin that for anybody. That's perfect. Nobody needs to hear what I have to say after this. That's crazy.
I dude, I'm so excited to chat to you because like seeing you in Paris last year at the end of the year was for me a beautiful experience to watch you in Nouveau. How has Bar Nouveau been for you, man? Like, it's an incredible bar. It's almost like it was made for you in many ways.
I think it could be, there's maybe one more in front of it, but it could be the most beautiful bar I've ever been in. It is incredible, extraordinarily gorgeous. It's a tiny space, so I feel like it's a little bit reminiscent of the Cantina days. It's actually 16 square meters squared, 16 square meters in a total.
Yeah, and that's just the upstairs part.
Exactly. So you'd have the upstairs and you'd have the downstairs that would effectively reflect the same space. It would just be a little bit more night and day type situation. But it's been an incredible almost 4 months. Tomorrow would be 4 months, which is wow. As well, even to think about this, it's gone so fast. But it is one of the most beautiful spaces I've ever been in, and the idea that you can be like one bartender behind this tiny little marble bar and be in charge of the entire space and curate everyone's moment is so beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it's perfect for you, especially with all of your work that you did at Cantina OK with making that bar one of the best bars in the world. I am gonna get to that and drill into it. But before we go there, if I was just a regular ass Jimmy and I was coming to Bar Nouveau for the first time, how would you describe Bar Nouveau being the man who works behind it almost all the time?
I think the first thing that you would need to consider is the concept of Art Nouveau in general. So like all of the bars based in over in Europe and the UK at the moment, which would be Shapes, Abstract, and Bar Nouveau would be based around conceptual art movements. The bar with Shapes for a name is actually an art school, right? So they kind of cheated a little bit there, but the thing to keep in mind is Art Nouveau big time. So Art Nouveau would be a necessary movement that happened in time between the First World War and the Second World War. Was you had a city like Paris, city like London that was very beautiful, lots of nature around, lots of greenery, and pretty much what happened within like 10, 20 years was the Industrial Revolution. Obviously this happened everywhere, but effectively there was cars, petrol, fire, automobiles, everything came in, nature was stripped away from people and they went into a big depression. And effectively in Paris, in Brussels, the cure for depression was to build Art Nouveau. So what they did is they reintroduced nature to the Industrial Revolution into like architecture. You've got these big curves reflective of like female forms. There's no angles in nature, so it's all no angles in right angles in nature, so it's all very reminiscent of this. And effectively, we built the entire bar based around this concept of Art Nouveau. So when you walk in, you see all the curves. Everything's very light. It's beautiful. There's plants. All of the cocktails would be no homemade ingredients. Everything already exists in the world. So it would be a little bit like stepping into a Art Nouveau bar post-Industrial Revolution. And then downstairs, you would have a space that would manifest itself in a different way, but be the same menu. It would be the idea of what does the world look like post-technological revolution? How can we reintroduce Art Nouveau artificially through technology? And you would have your rotovaps, because we have so many of them, centrifuges, stuff like this. So you've got a little bit of like a modern day Art Nouveau and post-industrial Art Nouveau upstairs, and the whole bar is based around this art movement. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful concept, and it's something that was necessary in the world. You know, it's like I think this is one of the most amazing art movements because it was something that actually needed to be done. It was an actual cure for depression at that time. So it's a beautiful thing, and in a place like Paris, it's magnificent.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, dude. It's such a beautiful space, and it's otherworldly. It feels like you almost step into a time machine when you walk in through that front door.
You, like Remy and I said this, like when we were talking about it at the very beginning, he's just like, it's just something that he wanted to do for so long, and it's just a space that we were like, needs to exist. You know, like we're having this moment now where we're going through this technological revolution, and people are going to definitely fall into this depression again. You know, you see it all the time. You wake up hungover, you scroll through your phone, you like a photo of like a waterfall and some flowers and like a cat and a dog, and you're like, fuck my life. Unless that is just depression. So you go into Bar Nouveau, and you're like, okay, I'm like reconnecting a little bit with nature and like beautiful architecture and beautiful drinks, and like I'm in the city of Paris, I'm in Le Marais. It's like, it's such a necessary bar in such a necessary time, and I think it's extraordinary.
Yeah,
so good.
And like working with Remy Savage, for those who are listening who don't know, Remy Savage is a titan within the international bar industry, and a lot of his bars are inspired by art movements. Is that also something that inspires you?
Self-proclaimed visionary.
Yes, yeah, 100%. But I think other people would call him a visionary too. Like
he absolutely is. We just were joking the other day because we were doing a guest shift, and you know, you kind of like write a bio about yourself.
Oh yeah,
like it's really incredible because like you can say anything you want. Also, no one can prove that you have not had a vision before.
That's very true. 100%. 100%.
It's really incredible. It's super incredible to work with him. It's obviously like on a daily basis, people would come in and ask either for Remy, how is Remy? I know Remy, like this kind of stuff. You know, it's like a bit of a is Charlie here at Rambling Rascals type situation. Like you have them in every bar around the world, but it is incredible, and I think it's interesting because when we were friends before we were working together, kind of thing. Like we'd met a few years ago. We were both judging Patron Perfectionist in London, so it would have been 2 years ago, and we just got along so well, and we stayed in contact. And over the course of a year, and then he came to Sydney for the Maybe Semi Cocktail Festival last year, and it was his birthday. We went to Hubert, and we were talking, and we were just hanging out. I had like a bottle of champagne and probably a bottle of cognac, so I was like pretty drunk at this point. And he's like, "I'm at a bar in Paris. I would love for you to come over." And obviously, in that state, you can't say no. In any state, you can't say no. You're like, "No, Paris, you know, there's beautiful things happening, and this guy, he's extraordinary." And I was like, "Fuck, I've got to do it." But yeah, working with him that was a little bit about the story. But working with him is incredible, and he's a genius. The bars are all based around conceptual art movement. So the idea would be to drink more art. You know, if you find the right place in the right city, there's always the perfect kind of art movement that you can apply this idea to.
And is that something that also inspires you, like conceptual art movements, or is that something that, well, like working under Remy, you've now honed that?
Yeah, a little bit of both. It was nice because I've always liked this concept, and I've always seen it. I've always seen what he was doing from afar. But this is it's just interesting you say this because wherever I work, I do tend to lean like quite heavily into the idea. You know, like at Cantina, it's like it's not like I ever liked mezcal before. I didn't know what it was, but then like I was like, mezcal's my life. When I was saying at Cantina, you know, like every day you're like, like I'll drink the Kool-Aid. If you give me the Kool-Aid, like I'll guzzle it down. Like, 100%. So it's the same kind of idea, I think, where it was like, I'm learning more about these art movements. I understand that they work. I get it. It makes sense to me. You know, like you're surrounded by it. And I think, I did like it a little bit before, but now that I've been working so closely with Remy, with the guys at Bar Nouveau, even with the guys at Shapes, I'm like, this is fantastic. I really like it. And I think it's a great source of inspiration. Like not only in drinks, but just like in life, you're like, oh, cool. Art is pretty necessary. It's important. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think it's one of these things which you don't think about until you need it. Like that,
Yeah, exactly.
for me is that.
Yeah.
It's one of these.
You know, it's a nice thing. It's like you come to Paris, like you 9 times out of 10, you go to the Louvre, you have a look at the Mona Lisa, stuff like this. Like, like everyone is all about it. It's funny when you have this moment of self-reflection though, because I was like, I remember doing a shift at Shapes, and I'm like, I'm wearing this pink jumpsuit, and we're like in East London, and then like I'm like explaining like this avant-garde movement of art like to someone else, and I'm like, fuck, I'm just like a white dude explaining art movements in East London, like to some guest. I was like, oh, this is actually crazy.
I love it. Yeah. But it's such a journey, dude. You've been on like such a journey in the past 6 months. It's been massive. Like, what have the biggest challenges been for you in terms of not only like moving to the other side of the world, but like what have the biggest challenges been, A, with hospitality in Europe versus hospitality in Australia, and then B, hospitality in Paris, where you might not be required to speak a completely different language, but the French do in fact speak French.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I am not speaking the native language.
You don't have subtitles for you speaking French in the podcast. It's not going to happen. So, like, what have those challenges been? Like, what have the big hurdles been for you?
The biggest one is, okay, you always have this idea of like the country that you grow up in, your country is always in the center of the map, you know, like at school, for instance.
Yes.
Like you grow up in Australia, you're like, you open up the map, you're like, boom, Australia's in the center of the map. And you're like, this couldn't be further from the truth. It is, in fact, not the center of the world. It is so far away. It is a remote, isolated island doing the strangest things, like everything that everyone sees on social media. And it's like, you guys are crazy. You're like, yeah, that's all fact. That's all true.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah, it's wild over there. And I think the hardest thing is that you are actually so far away. So, you know, like my family, they live in Sydney, of course. It's not easy to see them. It's going to take 30 hours to hop on a plane. And even your friends, you know, it's like, it's okay because social media and stuff like that feels you pretty connected. You know, like I would say 80% of the people that I still follow on, let's just say Instagram would of course still be in Australia. So, you know, I flick through the stories and I know what everyone's up to and this is okay. But really in reality, you're like, physically, I'm so far from my friends and family and I can't just get there. It's going to be an expensive flight and it's going to take a long, long time. So that was the hardest thing. Just being super far away, I couldn't just call you up and be like, do you want to go catch up tomorrow? Have a coffee, have a beer, whatever it might be. So this was definitely difficult, but I think on the contrary to that, hospitality being such a crazy small industry was like I never had to work very hard to like fall into a pretty close friendship circle, you know? Like you already kind of know everyone. You've already had a little bit of back and forth on Instagram. Maybe you've met them doing a shift somewhere else, or you're attending an event or whatever it might be. So it was nice that I always like had a good friendship circle. I'd say still the hardest thing would just be the actual distance, the distance of being from home.
Yeah, because I don't think you quite realize how far Australia is away from everything until you hop on a plane to Europe, and you're
exactly.
You know, you take it's like you take a good 15 hours and then you're halfway there. And then you gotta get on another fucking plane.
Exactly.
And it sucks. And then you at fucking Charles de Gaulle at 6 o'clock in the morning after being woken up at 3 a.m. in order to have the breakfast on the flight.
And exactly.
Rancid. Yeah.
It's everything about it. Like
long way.
You know, like the time is opposite. Like you're tired. The journey is crazy, and I think it didn't even I didn't realize it as much until I was actually on the other side. It'd been a few weeks, and I was like, I'm truly far away. I'm very far away.
Yeah,
you know. So,
what made you feel far away? I suppose it is one thing when you're there and you're like, oh yeah, you know, this is very culturally different living in mainland Europe.
Yeah.
But was there something about was there a moment that you had when you were in Paris or maybe in London where you were like, whoa, yeah, this is super different. Like it seems familiar, but at the same time, it's nothing like Australia. Was there a moment like that for you?
Yeah, it was, and it was like it was once I was a few weeks into London. Maybe it was like a month or two. I think a lot of people I've spoken to who have moved over have had the same feeling where like you're like kind of 2 months in and you're like, okay, I'm starting to miss. I think it would be the biggest thing would be like a routine probably. Like you start realizing like that you haven't been doing the same thing that you were doing every day when you were in Sydney. Whether maybe you go for like a daily run, or you have like your favorite breakfast spot, or like this coffee that you have every morning, or maybe it is going to the Sunday pub where you sit outdoors and you miss like the simple imperial measurement of a schooner. Like just like like it's been 2 months and you're like, okay, there's a few things missing. You're like, yeah. And it is like, it's the routine, it's the habitual stuff that you do all the time that you can't do anymore. And then you're like, okay, I'm pretty far away, and now I need to. You almost like have this realization that you're like, I need to start like getting into like habits over here. Like, like I need to find my favorite place over here. I need to start making time for yourself is a big one as well, because when you first move over, it does feel a little bit like a holiday naturally. Like the first couple of months, you're like, I'm in a completely different city on the other side of the world. I'm going to go to all the places to eat. The pound is a very expensive place, by the way. So like, everything's expensive. You broke really quickly, and you're like, okay, so now it's dark outside, and it's like 4:00, and I have no money, and like I've got a shift tonight that starts at 10 p.m. and finishes at 8 a.m. So that's fantastic. And my friends are on the other side of the world, and like everything kind of at one point is like, okay, this is tough. Yeah. But then it wasn't for me, I was in such a lucky situation that I was working in a bar that I really wanted to be at. So going into work every day was like, fuck, this is fantastic. The team there when I first started as well was just like, they were so kind to me. It was so nice. Everyone was lovely. And they didn't of course, because through Remy and Maria, I don't know if you met Maria, she housed me. It was next to Shapes as well. So it's like, I always had a place to stay. I had a place to work. I had friends saying, "That's great." I had good income. Like it was fine for me, but a few months in it gets a bit difficult. And then what was interesting is that I obviously, maybe after 6 months in London, made another move, like from another country to another country, of course. Just it wasn't as hard. Like after doing it the first time, it's just that initial move where you're like, I'm gonna move somewhere so far and so far. This is tough. And then when I did it from London to Paris, it's no problem at all.
It was easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
How have you found?
It's been 4 months now, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah. And how have you found Paris? Like, how have you found Paris? Like, have you
love it?
Do you like it? It's like how have you noticed the cultural differences between the French and the English and like the French and the Australians, and like what are they? What have you noticed? Like, if someone had never been to France before and was like, hey man, I really want to come over, what 3 things would you say you need to be aware of this before you arrive?
Oh, like wine, cheese, and cigarettes would be the 3 things you need to be aware of immediately. Yes, you do. I say straight away. But I think it's
Tickety damn, yes.
It's crazy. It's funny because people always like, how's France? Like, you're just in like drinking wine and eating cheese all day, and I'm like, yeah. That's exactly what I'm doing. Like the cliche, that's true. That's exactly what's happening. That's
I love absolutely living the stereotype.
And I couldn't love it more. I did an interview the other day that had a saucisson like in my pocket, like holding it back there. So this is actually this is what is going on in Paris. It's fantastic. But I think I just love it. Like the food is so good, the drink is so good. The people generally are quite nice, and I always was like, the last time I'd been to Paris was 8 years ago, probably before living here. And I'm always like, oh, it's so different. Like the people are so much nicer now. But I realize I think that like I'm just a different person. The city has not changed. I just from traveling when I was 20, coming to Paris, I'm different to when I'm like like nearly 29. And I'm like, okay, I'm probably just a better person, a more mature person. Yeah. I'm going to try and attempt to speak the language as opposed to being like some Australian kid in his gap year, being like, let's go.
Being like, where's the cheapest growls from?
Exactly. Yeah. So the city actually hasn't changed that much. But I think it's nice. Like, people eat dinner late. Like the city, people have worked really hard here for you to be able to have your balance of life and work. Like it is a big thing in Paris that work doesn't define you. And people have for a very long time made sure that this is an important statement. You know, like I would never work over 38 hours. I'm used to working long hours in Sydney sometimes, and when this happens, whenever it's normally necessary. But no one in Paris would be working over their like 38 hours or whatever it might be. You know, like, that's it. They take the time to themselves. They really, truly live their best life. And I just think that is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. You just do what you have to do. That's it. You go, and then you can have your wine and your cheese and smoke your cigarettes and have your long lollies and all this. And I'm like, that's fucking great. That is so good. Live your best life. Go to dinner late. Walk around Paris a little bit tipsy. Like, it's just beautiful. The city is so stunning. Like, I can understand everyone that I speak to that's moved here as an expat as well, they've all been here for about 5 years. I think this is such a good sign. You know, when someone's like, this is my home now. I love it. I cannot escape. And I can see the same thing happening. You know, I'm like, why would you need to leave? Like, everything is good.
Man, 100%. Absolutely. What is the, like, so you've been in this beautiful city for 4 months. You're learning to speak French as well. I presume you're just kind of like picking it up as you go along.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you go.
Oh, I was just going to ask, like, being in a city like that with, you know, nearly like 1,000 years of absolutely documented, recorded culture and story literally written into the bones of the city. Have you drawn any inspiration from that? Has that changed how you view the world, or how you've worked, or how you approached your craft, or have you just kind of integrated it, and, like, you know, you haven't really changed much, and you've just taken it in your stride, and that's kind of in the go?
It's weird because, like, up until recently, I would have just said the latter. Like, I'm like, no, I think, like, I think everything is, you know, like, pretty going as it was. Yeah. I'm chilling. But, like, just meeting other people, I'm like, I think that they've even noticed. So, like, I think you've taken to this a lot, and I am getting a little bit of inspiration from the city itself, and, like, I am really leaning into it. Maybe I'm just, like, speaking 50% slower to everyone every day, so it, like, would appear that I've changed a little bit, but, like, I'm the same person. I'm just speaking in a bit more of a broken English because I have to do it every single day of my life for 4 months straight. Like, just okay. Someone sent a message the other day. They're like, I saw Kenny in there. He's like, didn't really recognize it was him because, like, he doesn't really have this, like, Australian accent anymore. And I was like, that's a straight up lie, first of all. Don't fucking gaslight me. And then the second one is like, okay, I can understand why you might think this, because if I'm at work, I would put on, like, a voice that would maybe, like, be a bit slower and more articulate, so people know what the hell is actually going on. But I would say I'm taking a lot of inspiration from it, even, like, just thinking about, like, making drinks as well. It's interesting because I think this might not even be a Parisian thing, but, you know, like, the cocktail culture in Europe, of course, is a little bit bigger, and it's been going for a little bit longer in Europe, and particularly in the UK as well. Like, in London, you know, it's like you're making lots of classics all the time. Weirdly, like, these classics that you maybe read in a book when you, like, 10 years ago, like, you're making them. You know, you get, like, the cocktail codex or whatever it is, and you read through them, and you're like, oh, cool, bunch of wacky classic cocktails. There's like a fucking 1,000 of them. Yeah, everyone's a walking punch article in like Paris and London. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you realize you're like, oh, fuck, I know heaps of classics again now, and I'm, like, reviving these dead classics. And you're like, you know, cocktail culture is a little bit different. So I think I'm taking inspiration from, like, what people are drinking over here in Paris, what they're drinking over here in London, and I'm like, this is kind of cool though as well, because for so long I was like, I made 200 margaritas a day, and I was like, it'd be cool if I could maybe, like, remember how to make anything else. Like, this guy, like, his best bartender, I'm like, I don't even know what's in a Manhattan anymore. Like, it's just, I'm going crazy. And now, like, every second person's like, can I have a Lucian Gaudi and a Gypsy Queen and a flip of any sort? And you're like, alrighty.
It's like, so I'll also have 3 Tipperaries. It's like,
exactly. It was on the menu at Shapes. A Tipperary was on the menu at Shapes. Like, but this is cool. You're like, you know, I'm getting re-inspired again by, like, the classic cocktail culture, and I think it's incredible. And I think that's the difference. You know, Australia, it's not necessary. It's nice that you get casual service in Australia. The service is always really good, and the product that people are giving you is just, like, a really fantastic spirit in something that everybody can understand. Cold beers, good wine. Like, you know, that's, like, you have the foundations and it's amazing, but here people just want more. They want to be a bit of a show off as well. So you're like, interesting.
Right. Okay. Do you think, is there like a bit of competition then? Like when you say show off, do bartenders kind of compete a little bit more?
I saw it a little bit more in London. I feel like there was a little bit more ego, but also I think like it's a massive city, so of course it's always going to be like a little bit like this. You know, like I lived in East London. I think I stayed in East London for like 6 months because I was like, going south is far. I've already traveled far. No, I'm not going to get on the train for anything over 30 minutes. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But I think just because the general nature of there being like, I think there's like 16,000 restaurants or something in London. By the time someone recommends you like a bar or a restaurant in London, you're like, it might be closed next week. So you should go in the next couple of days if you can. Like, it's so wild. But I think just because the city's so big and there's lots of bars and there's a little bit maybe more ego, and so people are trying to show off a little bit more. But this is like, no one was actually ever not kind to me. But I can just see in specific places that you're like, okay, there's a little bit of ego here. People are trying to show off more. In Paris, there would only really be a handful of cocktail bars, you know? And the crazy thing is that they're all fucking amazing. Like, it's just so small, but every single one that you recommend is going to be the best.
There's like 15 cocktail bars, and they
you know, just go to all of them.
Dude, all of them are amazing. And the craziest thing, the craziest thing about Paris as opposed to like London is that when you walk into a bar in Paris, every single cocktail bar will recommend the other 15. They'll be like, where are you going to after this? You need to go here. And then you go there and you'll say, oh, I was just here. And they were like, oh my God, we love those guys. Yeah, did you sit down with this? And you're like, yeah, I did. And they were like, yeah, I did. Amazing. Hey, next, go there.
Exactly. It's like when you go to like Clarence Street in Sydney, but it's an entire city. Like, you know, like that's the community. I think you would have gone to Cambridge Public House, for instance.
Oh, yes.
It's like you go to Cambridge on it. Also fantastic.
Just stunning.
Yeah, but you go there on a Sunday. They're doing master classes almost every week now. It's fantastic. Bring lots of international guests over. But you would go there every Sunday, and you'd maybe see like 50% of like the entire Parisian hospitality community, and everyone's friends. They're all hanging out. Yeah, like the vibes are high. It's so refreshing to just be like surrounded by a group of like-minded people who genuinely care for one another, who actually want to hang out with one another, who support each other's bars, because they support the city of Paris, if not the country of France, as a whole. They're like, we want this city to be amazing. We want the best hospitality here for everyone. You know, like it's just another level. And I remember I was told before coming to Paris, someone was like, it's a little bit of a secret society over there. They don't really let you in that much into the hospitality. And granted, I think this was years ago. Whether or not that is true, it is 100% not the case.
At least, it's not the case.
You know, like everyone is just so nice. It's the most beautiful thing. It's the most beautiful.
Yeah, 100%. Everyone feels to be like pulling in the same direction, and I think
exactly.
Like it might be a post-COVID kind of thing for a lot of.
I have heard this. A lot of people have mentioned this. They were like, I think what's happening is that the post-COVID everyone is like 100% unified. Come together.
Yeah,
they're all working towards the same goal. Yeah, it's a great shout, and a few people have mentioned this to me as well. Like the post-COVID thing will definitely have an effect. People are just saying even post-COVID and just coming up to the Olympics, so like the city's really amazing. A lot of people would love it to stay how it is right now. There's 19 million tourists coming into Paris every single year, which is crazy. I think it is the number one tourist spot. If maybe London would be quite close, but it's like a city where everyone's coming to visit, and it's always busy. And everyone right now just seems like in high spirits. It's super lovely. It's such a nice place to be. I would agree. If we did this podcast in July during the Olympics, you'd be like, take me out. This is crazy.
Well, funnily enough, I will be in Paris in July. So let's do this again.
Yeah,
let's do this again. And we'll see. That's true. That's really good. I'll do it in person. Oh, yeah, are you coming home? Are you coming back?
No. Actually, I am coming back though. In 1 week, I will be back.
Yeah, because you're coming back for the Maybe Cocktail Festival, right?
To where it'll begun, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
Like when I
closed the story.
Yeah, exactly. So Remy and I booked Restaurant Hubert's again because this is where we went the first time for the world's best job interview. So we'll go back there. Except, I don't know what's on the table this time. Can't wait.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, awesome.
But it's so nice.
What are you guys doing? Yeah, what are you guys doing at the maybe cocktail festival? What's in the cards?
Yeah, so we're actually gonna bring Shapes and Bar Nouveau over. And when I say that, we're gonna bring the drinks from Bar Nouveau and a few drinks from Shapes as well. And it'll be Remy and myself at maybe Sammy from like 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock on a Saturday. I think the event sold out super quickly as well. So we're like, here we go. We had an idea to like bring all of our glassware and stuff like this, and the guys are like, you need like 350 serves, like at least. We're like, all right, so I'm not going to do that. And then yesterday, Remy was like, so we should. I was talking to him. A few people have been requesting the Ramos, and I was like, so we're going to bring the Ramos, right? And he's like, yeah, we're going to bring the Ramos. And I'm like, fuck. So we're going to make 100 Ramoses and 300 other cocktails. Just him and I showing off the efficiency and functionality of Shapes, and then Bar Nouveau just blending Ramoses. 4 hours, blending. Come to see Penny. How's he been? He's just sweating at the Ramos station over there.
Oh no, that's gonna be great, dude. That's gonna be so exciting.
Can't wait. We're gonna do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a masterclass as well. So yeah.
Oh, wicked. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Amazing. Well, funnily enough, I'm gonna be up in Sydney, so I think I'll see you. What are you really excited to come back to Australia, and why? I mean, I presume like some of it will be like, I want to see my family, but like, are you excited to like come back and kind of see how this city that you lived in and like kind of build your career has changed, or like, are you trepidatious about anything as well?
First and foremost, to see my family is fantastic. And just on that note, the day before I leave, my mum actually arrives in Paris. It's like the timing.
Oh, wow.
Oh, perfect. So insane. Perfect, but not perfect, because she's like, I'll stay for the entire week in Paris. And then I'm like, I'm actually coming to Sydney. So catch up. So I see her for one day, but she'll make it on the back end of the festival anyway. I'm really excited to see my family. Really excited to see my partner. So I'm doing a long distance relationship. So in the past for however long it's been now, until 10 months away, this naturally has been a little hurdle as well. But it's been you're in love, so everything's beautiful. It's like I'm in Paris, so everything's twice as beautiful. Life is good. Life is good. Yeah. So I'll go back. For sure. I'll see her, and I'll see my family, and I'll see my friends, and this will all be amazing. And then I think what's really special this time is the last time I came back was over Christmas. And so a lot of it was spent predominantly with friends and family, like as I'm excited for this time. But it would be like just cocktail bars. There's loads of events on. Yeah. So I'm going to go into the bars. I'm going to see what things are like. There's somehow this places that have opened since the last time I was here, which is in December. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll go visit new venues, and I'm like, fantastic. Can't wait. It's always nice to go, back to Cantina where I was, go to Bar Planet, see the new venue that they've opened up. See what the places where I always was drinking late night I like, and all the people, it's always like I always go behind a bar now. It's actually always happened even when I was in Sydney, but you go behind the bar, you like, don't know anyone here. Fantastic. Yeah. Kind of nice. Just get treated like a regular guest. Just sit there. Oh. And it's so good. I can't wait. Yeah, can't wait to see what they're like.
Awesome, man.
They are fantastic, and I talk about them pretty frequently when I'm in Paris and when I was in London as well. They're really great. I think it's some of the best cocktail bars in the world. Obviously some
are in Australia,
globally recognized, but I do think there's so many of them are in Australia. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Great. Now, speaking of your formative years in Australia, you obviously started at you didn't start at Cantina OK, but Cantina OK became your palace, if you will. It became the Kenny show. It really did.
Cantina
for a while. Yeah, exactly. And so what if you could speak to young Kenny behind the bar there now, with all the experience that you have, is there any advice that you'd give young Kenny behind the bar at Cantina OK?
I think I would love if young Kenny could give me advice. Like,
oh, really?
Kenny then at Cantina, he's just killing it. He's just killing it. He's like, you love it. No, I think he's the same person. I really think he's the same person. Because when you were like, it all started at Cantina, and then you kind of corrected yourself. I was like, no, I think it did. Like that was a moment where I felt so in love with hospitality, in love with drinks, in love with spirits, in love with the community, in love with the city. Like everything was like at Cantina was so nice. It was like this one like beautiful like awakening moment, you know, where like I'd worked in bars before, didn't really care as much for it. Like enjoyed it, but it was just a little bit of fun. I didn't really know where it was going. And then at Cantina, I was like, oh, this is like actually such a fundamentally important part of like society, like, and the world. Yeah, like I feel like I'm doing something that's actually amazing. I'm making people so happy.
Yeah, wait, so hold on. You just said something really interesting there, which was it's a fundamental part of society. Can you expand on what you mean by that? Yeah, because I've never heard anyone refer to bartending as a fundamental piece of society, even though I fully agree with that sense.
Yeah, you know, like it's like
I fully agree with that.
I thought about this a lot, like during COVID, and like when we couldn't go to bars and we couldn't see people, and I'm like, the one thing that will actually never die is like going into a public space, like the pub, like going into a bar and like meeting someone and talking to them and having a drink. Like it just exists until the very fucking end of time. Like we will always do that. It's so important. Like it's the way that we hang out. We need this. It's so necessary. Like it's just to be surrounded by people. I think alcohol is always going to be around as well. But like it's so important in society. People need it. Like you saw how much people were going fucking crazy when they couldn't even just catch up with their mates in a space and have a few drinks and catch up and spin yarn. They're like, fuck, it's so important. And I think when I was at Cantina, because the space was so small, I saw how much it actually deeply affected people. I was like, wow, they're in a space and they like it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Was there one kind of moment that really epitomized that for you that you can remember?
I think it was a lot of the. I mean, one when I realized that I was in such an important place was just actually seeing everyone around me working at 110%. Like the team at the time was like just the most hardworking, extraordinarily inspired team of all. It's like every single night we would finish work, we'd close maybe at like 2 a.m. and we would just like sit on the milk crates outside until like 4 a.m. being like, how can we be the best bar in the entire world? Like this actually happened, and it would happen all the time. Like to the point where you're like, I really need to fucking go home. I'm so tired. But like, we're like, this is important and we love it. And it's amazing. But I think the moments were definitely when I was like being told stories by like Alex and Jeremy about their journey through hospitality, and then a lot of it would be like their experiences in Mexico, where you could receive like the most genuine hospitality from people who let you into their homes, served you the spirit that they were making, not for like profit or anything, just because they were like, this is what you do. You let people into your homes and you give them a gift and you give them a good time. And I was like, fuck, this is really incredible. It's so nice. Love the idea of hospitality. Love the idea of hard work. Love the idea of inspiration. And I think all of it there was like, this is where I needed to be. And I don't think any of that's changed. Like from that moment in Cantina to now, like what I think about what would young Kenny say to me, what would I say to young Kenny? It would just be like, keep doing what you're doing. Like keep doing this.
Yeah, okay.
This is good. Like, you know, like this is it. Not like it wouldn't be something like these are the good old days. Love it so much. The good old days are now forever. Like it's keep doing this. It's really amazing. Keep working hard. Like all that stuff is so. Yeah, I love it. I was really.
And so,
I was there.
How did you take what you learned from Cantina OK and then apply it to opening Bar Planet? Like, because Bar Planet is a real shift from Cantina OK. So what did you learn there that you were like, oh yeah, we can use this here?
It was really it was interesting because we used to have pretty extensive chats about it. We're like, how can we bring Cantina into a big space? Like, you know, it's like quadruple the size. You're like, can we do the same kind of stuff, but do it in Bar Planet? And most of it would be down to like the handcrafted moments. You know, it'd be like writing on a menu, like sitting down with someone, like going to their level, explaining everything to them, like these kind of stuff. They can't. It's interesting. Just like classically always getting sidetracked, but people always in Bar Planet would be like, have you been to this other bar Cantina? Like, do you know this other bar Cantina? It feels very similar. And we would always be like, yes, nailed it. Nailed it. Because we were always like, how can we bring the Cantina hospitality to Bar Planet? I think a lot of it obviously comes to do with hiring the right people. A lot of it comes to like those handcrafted moments where you're like sitting down next to someone, you take the time to maybe give them a gift or write them the menu, pitch them the special of the week or tell them about what's happening. And it was just like spending maybe like an extra couple seconds to minutes, depending on how busy it is with the guest, is like the most important thing for sure. And I think we would always try and make like all kind of spectacular moments, the pinnacle of the venue at pinnacle, but like the idea of like you have Cantina and the ice shaver was like boom, center in the middle. Look at that sweat equity. I'll pay $23 for that margarita because that guy there is sweating and he's working goddamn hard for it. And then like at Bartender, you're like, look at the Perron, like this crazy martini and something that looks like a bong, amazing, pouring out. You'd be like, theatrics would be like another big thing. So you'd have like handcrafted moments, like this genuine hospitality. There's a little bit of theater in there as well. And I think always it was like the Mucho venues have been really good at like transporting you into a different time and place.
Yeah.
Like you walk to Cantina, you're like, fuck, there's no way I'm in Sydney right now. And Bar Planet, you're like, either I just got spiked at the last bar that I was in, or like,
100%. You walk in, and like, I could be tripping balls.
Like could be,
just for a minute. 100%.
Yeah.
And so you just touched on a few really cool things. First of all, handcrafted moments. I fucking love that as an idea.
Yeah.
I just adore that. And
every time I say something, I hope that no one has said it to me before, and that I just had a stroke of genius. You know, you're like, please can it be mine?
Nah, I honestly hope you get chewed out in the comments for copying everyone else.
It's just like, I look outside, there's a big billboard. It's like handcrafted hospitality. Nah, not in me.
You didn't come up with handcrafted moments. But handcrafted moments, and then I remember Jeremy talking a lot about emotional tasting. I feel like Mucho Group brings so much heart and just kind of a real grounding. It like all of the Mucho venues feel very kind of grounded in your body. I know that sounds that's a strange way to conceptualize it.
But I don't.
But they don't seem intellectual.
Yeah.
But they're so profound in a way. Yeah, and like how did you guys go about like navigating what those handcrafted moments are and what emotional tasting is? Like how did those conversations actually occur?
The emotional is, I really hope that I'm sure there is an interview or at least like a video somewhere of Jeremy, like explaining the emotional tasting. But the beginning of the idea was that when they had TOs, they had gone to Mexico a few times and they were bringing back these spirits and they were putting them on a menu and they were like ranking them almost. You kind of do this thing where you're like, you do a tasting and you're like 5, 4, 3, whatever. Yeah. Which is just crazy. And then they would give them to guests anyway. And effectively, it's like if you're having mezcal for the very first time, it's pretty intense. It's like having like the cocaine and cigarettes or something. Like you'd be like, if you try it and you'd be like, this is like a little bit like gasoline and like I feel like I'm just like inhaled a cigarette. Like it's not the best experience.
It's like cocaine and cigarettes. It's intense.
Yeah. So I've been hurt. So I'm adult.
Yeah.
And it's like, someone at the bar was like, they're having this and like I'm paying fucking $15 for something that is like, it's so full on. And they were like, why does everyone hate it? Or why do we love it? Like, what is going on? And they were like, the very clear difference is that they were in Mexico. Like they were there when there was a plastic table and there's all the glasses are mismatched. And I'm sure the sun was probably hitting the glass in the perfect moment. And this old Mexican lady is like pouring out the rarest spirit out of like a Coca-Cola bottle. And they cooked for them and there's kids running around and there's a donkey probably like squealing in the background and all the dragon fruit is ripe and ready to be eaten and delicious. And you're like, that's what made it so good because it was so emotional at the time. Like everything was incredible. But if you don't tell someone that story and you just give them a mezcal for $15, they're like, this tastes like ash. Like, I don't get it. So like the idea would be like, okay, how can we taste these spirits and like put emotion into it so people can actually comprehend what's happening? They can actually empathize with the situation. And then I guess the emotional tasting was all born from this. So you would taste the spirit and you'd be like, what does that remind me of? How does that make me feel? Not stuff like bitter, sweet, sour, whatever. It was like, fuck, this reminds me of like my grandmother's closet. I hate that I just like picked like grandmother's like grandmother's. I'm like,
no, I love it. No.
You smell it and you're like, wow, it smells like the leather on riding the back of a horse in the Blue Mountains or something like this. And it was like, wow, that's so cool because people are like, I understand that. Like, they can understand special moments. They can associate their own moments with them. And it was such a beautiful thing. The emotional tasting is an incredible idea. And I think it's so powerful. So powerful.
Yeah, I think it's genuinely, I think it's the only way to taste spirits.
Exactly. And I've never got it out of my system either as well. And it's always funny when you go to a new place and like someone pours out, like we were having a little bit of cognac the other day, and I'm like, yeah, oh my God, like, you know, like, and then you say like what it smells like, and they're like, you've lost your fucking mind. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
That's great. I love
topic moments, trifle of flavors. Yeah. It's
but I love those moments because it's a profound communication with your understanding of the world. And the cool thing that I loved, especially because I think I've seen an interview with Jeremy about emotional tasting, which is what reminded me of it right now. And he talks about really bringing yourself to the tasting as opposed to trying to make it objective. You have to make it personal, because otherwise it doesn't actually translate. You can't communicate that story.
Just haunts unless it
is personal. Yeah. Like just saying, oh, it's 9 out of 10. It's like, well, that's super arbitrary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whereas saying,
I think the other cool one,
this reminds me of something that's cool. Yeah,
exactly. And I think the other thing that was nice as well was like Alex is like, you know, you don't often want to be like the smartest person in the room. So like, especially once you start, like, it's good to know a bit about it. Like when you're talking about mezcal as well, like you want to know the agave and where it comes from. But when you start giving those like arbitrary facts about like what the kind of barley is used to make a Belvedere, like you don't want to make someone just feel like an idiot. It's not cool to be way smarter than the person that you're serving. Like, you know, it's like you're like whatever. Like the person doesn't care about that. That's not what they want to hear. They want to hear about.
They're not there. They're not there for a TED talk. They're there to enjoy themselves. I don't feel it.
Or they could just read the back of the bottle, like.
100%. Yeah. So out of handcrafted moments and then emotional tasting, is there anything else that you've brought from the Mucho group, from Cantina and Bar Planet, that you use almost like every day behind the bar at Bar Nouveau? Or are they just little things that pop up?
Yeah, it's definitely little things that pop up all the time. The emotional tasting, I definitely do this, and I think the handcrafted moments for sure, because like I would definitely still like always have a pen in my pocket, so I could at the very least write a list of recommendations or write a thank you letter or a postcard or whatever it might be. Or like, you know, like even yesterday, someone they loved the Gustav, which is this fantastic cocktail with a little gold leaf and flowers on them. They had a flight to get in at 8 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, I'll put it into a bottle and I'll find some super glue, and it's the gold leaf and the flowers in the bottle, and I was like, take this with you on the plane, drink it, flights suck. And I'm like, all these moments are stemming from being at Cantina, where I was like, how can we just like do one extra thing, like go further, just go a little bit further every single time. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice that this is still just in my hospitality arsenal. Like I wouldn't even second guess it. I'd be like, the only logical thing to do right now is to give this person a gift, obviously. Why would you do anything?
Yes.
You know, it's crazy. And it's like, this is just second nature now, and it's nice. And I think the other thing would just be like, this might be even a Sydney and Australia hospitality thing, but it'd be like, I'd always introduce myself to someone that was coming in. And I remember the guys actually even saying to me, it's like, you know, someone steps into your house, like you would never not introduce yourself. Like you like at a house party, someone walks in, you don't know the person, you'd be like, well, hey, I'm Kenny. Like, nice to meet you. Yeah. And just be small things like this. You know, someone comes into the venue, like, this is my name, lovely to meet you. This is what's happening. What's your name? Where are you from? And I'm like, oh, it's nice to just, the hospitality is definitely, is a big thing. This idea of genuine hospitality. And I think a lot of it does just come from Australia in general. Even if it is like that more casual, like pub culture. Like, I love the idea of like a 5-star service in London, and like you go to like the Savoy or whatever, and it hasn't changed for a long time. And I'm like, good, don't change. I think it's nice that like I can't wear a hat inside because maybe I want to take my mum there one day and I want to surprise her and be like, look how amazing it is. You know, like I get it. Some things do need to change, but it's nice if some things stay the same. And I think in Australia, it would be the more casual service coming over, being like, okay, how can we make people feel warm and welcome, kind of disarm them a little bit. And this is fantastic. I like it, and it works everywhere. Works everywhere.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's one of like Australian hospitality's, like it's one of our secret weapons in a way? That kind of
for sure
hospitality.
Yeah, and a lot of people always like, it's very comforting to be served by you and to listen to you. And I know that this isn't like directly at me. It is just generally like, I'm an Australian. So be like, you know, it's an accent that you're like, there's a bit quirky. This guy's a little bit maybe more laid back. And you're like, it is quite a comforting thing to be served by an Australian person. And even when I go back to Australia, I'm like, this is true. Like, there's something about it.
It is.
I trust this guy with my life.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there's something empirically just comforting about an Australian talking to you. I think it's just because you don't feel like you have to stand on ceremony. You don't feel like you're going to get anything wrong. You're made to feel as if anything you do is more or less acceptable. There's an asterisk on anything you do, but most things that you do is like pretty acceptable. And we're here to. It's like entering someone's lounge room. Like,
it's big time.
The perfect pub for me. It's an extension of my lounge room in many ways.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really beautiful thing that Australians do bring to all of it. I just love it.
They do.
I have a few more questions for you because I know recently, correct me if I'm wrong, you went to Croatia.
Oh, we love it.
Okay. Now, I've been really interested to talk to you about this because when I was in Paris with you, you were like, I'm going to Croatia soon. That's a huge part of my story personally.
Yeah.
So how was Croatia, and what do you bring from traveling? Like, what do you personally get from traveling that inspires you in the work that you do?
I think so. For context, my mum was born in Croatia. She was born in Nasice, which is like a very small village in Croatia. And my baka, my grandmother was born there, and my grandfather was born in Split. So I went to Split, and so this is why it was quite a nice moment, because I'd never been to Croatia before, but I grew up with my grandparents. So my grandparents, we lived in, it's so Croatian, but like they came over to Sydney, and my grandfather built his house with his bare hands. Feels like I'm almost in like a cocktail competition right now. No, Croatian, and there's a bit of sherry involved at the end. Yeah, and so my grandfather came over. They built the entire house, and so there's 3 floors. And my grandparents lived at the very top, and I lived with my mum and my stepdad at the bottom. But always, my grandparents would pick me up from school, and I would live with them all the way up until I was like 15 or 16, and they would tell me stories always about Croatia. The Croatian news was always on. My grandfather was always listening to the Croatian radio, reading the Croatian newspaper. My grandmother was always making fucking stuffed pickled cabbage rolls, and it was like, like just classic Croatian.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, at least once a week, would be like, tell me the story. And he'd be like, that God created all the countries in the world and he gifted them to all the people, but he kept Croatia for himself because it was the most beautiful. I'm like, oh, so nice. Love this. And he's telling me this with like one missing finger and this cabbage roll in the other hand. And I'm like, this is good. This is good.
This is beautiful.
And so, I landed in Split, and I was like, oh my God, like this is the place that I've been hearing about my entire life. It's so nice. My mum was like, don't tell your grandparents you're here. They're going to contact everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to come. Okay. It's going to be crazy. It's a smaller place than you think. So I'm like, okay, good to know. But I went there and I touched down, and it was amazing. Like we didn't go in the very peak of like summer or anything like this when you would normally go, so it wasn't as busy, but it was still, of course, as beautiful. Like just being next to the sea, it was super nice for me as well to even just smell like the Adriatic. I think it was just like smelling the water. I'm like, fuck, a little bit like being on the coast of Australia again. And the hospitality was super lovely there. I didn't realize how much of an influence like Italian culture it had. Croatia is very close to, you can get to Italy very quickly. And so like there's like lots of fantastic pasta and pizza and lasagna and stuff like this. And I think even I realized, I'm like, my grandparents did cook a lot of that food for me when I was younger. And so it was nice to just be in a place that I'd heard about for so long, and it was so beautiful and just a crazy environment. And I think this idea of like traveling and seeing all these new places and learning so much about them when you're there is like always going to have an effect on you. Like whether you realize it or not, you just like, you maybe have a dish, you maybe have a glass of wine at the right moment that like in a couple of weeks or months or even in a year, like just comes back into your head and you're like, I've got an idea. This reminds me of something. Like it's incredible. And I think to meet other bar communities as well is a massive thing, because people are doing the same thing that you're doing in different cities. And, some of them are not going to be as big a city as Paris, London or Sydney. And some of the bar communities as well, of course, are not going to be as big. So it's really special to meet these people who maybe follow you on Instagram or are a big fan of the bar. And they get to tell you a little bit about their story, and you get to give them a little bit of inspiration. And you're like, that's really amazing too. Because you forget how lucky you are. I saw this all the time in Australia. It still happens. You're like, Sydney is like the shit. It's like Sydney, Melbourne, and then even like Brisbane is a huge city, and it's like there's never as many things happening over there. and you're like, there's a competition might be on, but like people would never travel up to Darwin to tell you about what you need to do to enter. And this is like,
for sure,
happens like on a global scale, like where you go into these smaller cities in different countries, and you're like, it's amazing to do in a masterclass there, to teach people something, to give people something, to meet them. Super important part of traveling, I think. Like listening to other people's stories as well, like not just telling them your own one, but listening to other people and seeing and hearing what they're doing.
having that exchange.
Yeah, exactly. You learn a lot.
Do you feel? Yeah, 100%. Do you feel? Do you ever like reflect back on like young Kenny again, and realize that you're now like a mentor?
Young Kenny. I love this young Kenny. I love at the beginning. Everything has changed in the last 15 minutes. I want to talk to this guy big time. It's crazy. Yeah, I cannot stress. Like honestly, every time I'm on a plane, it could be the altitude, but I like very often I'm crying. I'm very often crying. I don't know if it's because I'm like picking the wrong movies. I'm a little bit drunk. Obviously the last time, fair play, I watched Interstellar. Matthew McConaughey's losing his shit. I'm like, drunk, and I'm like, it's tough.
Oh, for sure.
Stuff. Yeah, telling me love, love is like goes through time and space, and it's it gets me powerful, and we didn't make it up. It's not human made. It exists. It's crazy. But generally, I'll be flying to places, and I'll be like, this is crazy. I do feel like the sun is always like setting for some reason when I'm like looking out the window. It's always very beautiful. You're like above the clouds, and you're like, look at me. What right do I have to just be flying around the world to these other beautiful cities, making drinks, meeting these people, trying the food? I'm like, oh my God, it is incredible. And I'm so, so grateful, like infinitely grateful all the time. I'm coming back to Sydney in a week. Sarah and I are taking Bar Nouveau to Singapore in the very beginning of May, going with Adrian to Rome a few weeks after. Like, it's an incredible journey. And, it's not something that I'm like, oh, I'm really lucky because like I worked really hard, but I am super grateful still. It's incredible. Just like, young Kenny, please keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing.
If anything, go even harder. Go even harder.
Go Go hard. Go hard in the paint.
Hard. Exactly. Shoot that 3-pointer right now. Fucking go for it. Nothing but net. But I think even in saying that though, because I did spend a lot of those years working really hard. It's like, it'd be super important to always take time for yourself. This is just something that I'm learning now in Paris. Like now that I do have a little bit of time off, and I am working crazy, that I'm working less hours than I ever have. Like this time for yourself is so personal. Like I spent so long just like kind of love everything else, and then like not loving yourself, and you're like, that's so important as well. Like as hard as you work and all the hours that you put in and all the research that you do and the traveling that you do, it's like, just don't forget, like at the very end of the day, like you were the most important person. So I'd be like, just keep that in mind. But I guess that's something I'm learning more and more now, like traveling. And I think maybe that's a big thing as well about traveling, is like you do realize when you make the move that you've done it solo. So like you do really need to be comfortable in your own company and stuff like this, because you're not going to be surrounded by this network of friends that you could have seen so freely all the time. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
Go young Kenny.
Yeah, that's massive, dude. Holy shit. Yeah, I'd tell young Kenny that. Yeah. Like, build yourself. Do you feel like a lot of the work that you have to do is like an offering to yourself at the end of the day? Like it's a strange way for me to put it, but like when you're working hard, and when you're analyzing drinks, and when you're looking at the hospitality that you give people, post shift, and doing all those kind of 1%ers that you do, like do you how do you deal with the pressure of being like rated in top 100 in the world? Like how do you actually deal with the pressure of that, the pressure of, I think, that measure up with that, but then still taking time for yourself?
The best thing about this, and I was thinking, so weird, I was thinking about this recently as well, like with the you do the top 100 and stuff like this, and you're like, you guys said that, not me. There's no pressure, because I never said that I was the best. You guys did. So like, it's like when other people are telling you that you're the best, you're like, that's amazing. Like that's what you think. Like I never said that, so there's no pressure for me. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and you guys are telling me that I'm this and that, and that's fantastic, and I love that so much. But it's like it takes less pressure away. Like if I went on a pedestal and was like, I am the best, guys. Like, now I've got to actually do something about it. Right now, everyone's just telling me this, and I'm like, I'm doing what I'm doing. But I think it's always it is super selfish to be selfless. Like every 1%er in the bar and stuff like that, like at the end of the day, you kind of do it for yourself. Like you give someone a little gift at the end of the day because like the smile on their face is going to make you feel so good. You know, it's like a bit of back and forth. So you're like, the 1%ers at the end of the day, they always are kind of like a little bit for you. It's like a little bit for them, but you get something out of it as well. So I'm like, that is nice. You know, or you see the reward almost immediately in all of these 1%ers. Yeah. Like whether it's like you nail the perfect spec for your cocktail, you make someone smile at the end of shift, you give someone a gift, like all of that. So I'm like, it always goes both ways, I think. Yeah, if it wasn't making you feel good, I'd be like, fuck, I don't think you should maybe reconsider the act that you're actually doing, you know, like, or the industry itself. Yeah.
It's like,
might be in the right place.
Time.
Yeah. You see, like, the country old dude is, like, clearly been at the bar for, like, 30 years. What do you want? And you're like, well, fuck, nothing now, my guy.
Yeah.
A better attitude.
Yeah. 100%. Man, look, we've been chatting for a long time. I'm going to let you get back to your day and have some of that time for yourself. I really appreciate your time. You can catch Kenny at the Maybe Cocktail Festival with Bar Nouveau and Bar with Shapes for a Name. And if you are ever in Paris, just beeline it straight off the plane, bring your luggage. Kenny will look after you behind the bar at Bar Nouveau. Man, thank you so much for your time.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.